Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. I'm Richard Lewis Brown. Today is September 29th, 2021. Tonight, Local 1000 listens to you. Before we get started, I got a surprise. I'm standing up. Super excited. Super energetic. The survey, the Telework survey. Now you see me standing in front of the screen. We're going to go through this Telework survey, slide by slide, really quick and easy, and then we'll open up for calls. So here we go. Survey overview. The survey was launched in the third week of August. Hopefully everyone received it. We sent emails out to over close to 54,000 of our represented employees. And of that close to 54,000 emails sent out, we had almost 4,500 respond to the Telework survey. The exact number, 4,492. So we had about a little over 8% in response. Now, here's the critical question. Who took time out of their busy schedule to respond to the survey? And as you can see here, hopefully it's not too blurry, most of the people, or shall I say 92% of the respondents came from Unit 1 and 4. And we had a few responses from the other units. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised, because a lot of our staff in 1 and 4 work in the office, and therefore they're either teleworking or they've been rejected from telework. A lot of our staff in 17 are RNs, staff in 20 are LVNs, pharmacy techs, lab, not the lab techs, but some other people in 20, and also in 21, we had a lower response. However, we have to remember, our two largest bargaining units is 1 and 4. All right, so we'll go to the next slide. And then it tells you who is teleworking by unit. And so you'll see bargaining unit 1 at 91%, bargaining unit 4 at 63%. Now you see some of these other bargaining units, they have a higher percentage, but they had a smaller number that responded. All right, so it tells you here, teleworking. Now, this is very important. Who is being rejected for telework? As you can see, Unit 4, that's the respondents, they had the most rejections, followed by Unit 1. And like I said, the rest of the units, most of them don't really telework, so their rejections was really, really small. All right, so 1 and 4 once again had the largest number of rejections, but they also had the largest number of respondents, and they are the two largest bargaining units. First 1, and then second bargaining unit 4. So this information, major findings, is somewhat subjective. So our staff, when they looked through the analysis, they asked, through the analysis about some key questions. And there was the issue of clear and consistent eligibility for the criteria to be eligible for telework. And then there was a cost program for telework costs. And these issues, along with IT, being able to work from home, these were the most urgent issues that our respondents stated. So I'll say it for you again, because it's kind of important. Clear and consistent eligibility criteria, 30%. Reimbursement program for telework costs, 24%. And I guess my big question with that is, for those who are being reimbursed, I would like to know how much they're getting reimbursed. We'll get to that in another slide. And then the IT issue. All right. Now this is important. As you know, our current governor, Gavin Newsom, stated in the summer of 2020 that he wanted 75% of state employees to work from home. I'm going to say it for you again. Our governor, Gavin Newsom, had the foresight and the wisdom on this particular issue to say that we need to work people from home, 75% of our state workforce. However, through our analysis, it appears 70%, so the biggest administrative roadblock to have successful telework management, supervisors from mid-level and executive management. And I know many of you will agree to that. Your unit doesn't have telework, or if they do have telework, they kind of pick and choose who gets it and who doesn't. So, they're the big problem from our analysis. And then the other part, reimbursement or allowances for the cost of telework. That's also a major issue. Now listen to this, of all those respondents, close to 4,500, only 9% stated they were being reimbursed. And I'd like to know that 9%, how much money they're getting, because I don't think it's a whole lot. All right. Now, I'm going to sit down. That's my chair. Okay, I'm going to sit down, and I'll take some questions over telework. We're going to put this survey up on our website. And we're going to put the results as well. And I believe we're going to send out a newsletter talking about this survey. I think this is really important that we did this telework survey. And let me give a shout out to our former president. She started this discussion in September of 2020. And so we're going to finish this conversation, this challenging conversation she started in September of 2020, telework. And I think once we get this established, a standardized, uniform telework policy for all state agencies, this is going to greatly help us. It's going to save the state some money. I believe it's going to make the workplace much safer. And let me reinforce this to you. The idea that we can't telework, Local 1000, and I'm going to reach out to the other public sector unions, the idea that we cannot telework, that's a false idea. We've been teleworking all of this time. We are the fourth largest economy in the world. Since March of 2020, when many of us were sent home for work from home because of COVID, we didn't drop our work efficiency, our work productivity. No, we didn't. We're still the #1 state in the nation. We still have the fourth largest economy on earth. So the trick is out of the bag. This idea that we can't work from home, that's false. Even the governor has told you that we should be working from home. And hopefully, and I say hopefully, we will be able to reach an agreement, and I'm going to say it again, hopefully we'll be able to reach an agreement, Local 1000, the Monica Walls, our VP of Bargaining, Irene Green, that we'll work together and find a mutual solution for permanent telework across all state agencies. Again, let me give a shout out to our former president of Local 1000, Yvonne Walker, who started this conversation in September 2020. Now we have to finish that conversation, that challenging, courageous conversation. We will get the job done. This will be a win for Local 1000. It's going to take some time and some effort, and I apologize that this hasn't been done sooner, many months sooner, but we will get it done. All right. Enough of that issue. So we're going to open the floor up to some questions. All right, first caller. It appears to be Frank Askin. Good evening, Frank.
Good evening, Mr. President. How are you this evening?
Splendid. How are you?
I am doing just phenomenal. And let me tell you, sir, you are spot on with your presentation tonight, because I'm Unit 1 at IT. I work on the service desk for CUIAB, the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board, one of the questions that you had brought up was about reimbursement. We have not been reimbursed anything, a dime yet, as far as teleworking goes. Right now, we're basically in the office 1 day a week for the service desk, but the other 4 days out of the week, we're allowed to work from telework. And you were spot on, is that it's not everybody that gets to telecommute. It's management's decision. They're deciding, like within IT, who gets to work from home and who doesn't get to work from home. So you were spot on with that, sir. Thank you.
Frank, you're very welcome. And I'm going to surprise you, Frank, with another answer that I'm going to tell you. This telework is really important. But I want everyone represented by Local 1000, whether you continue to put your lives on the line and went to work, or whether you stayed home, everyone represented by Local 1000 should be eligible for the Federal Worker Essential Premium Pay. I have to again give a shout out to the former president of Local 1000, Yvonne Walker. I realize that Yvonne and I have a lot of differences. But on this point, we strongly agree. That conversation had started. That conversation must be completed. So it's important that we establish telework. The governor believes in it. We believe in it. Our own staff here at Local 1000, under their new contract, they have telework. This is extremely important. But just because once we get this telework does not mean that that Federal Worker Essential Premium Pay is gone. I have not lost focus. So we're doing multiple issues here at Local 1000. We will get this done, but not as fast as you want, and I apologize for that. All right, next caller, Corey. Good evening, Corey. Mus Haseb. Good evening, Corey.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, sir. First of all, congratulations. I've been listening to your calls the last couple of months, and this is the first time I'm actually speaking. I just want to say congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, Corey.
I do have a question on the upcoming COVID testing protocol. I wanted to know some basic information, and I have a couple of concerns around it. So my agency has implemented a COVID testing protocol starting the week of October 11th. And for those individuals that have not provided, a vaccine card or the QR code, they will be tested weekly. We were informed that we are going to have a third party named Color do the testing. However, the employee is going to be responsible for doing their own nasal swab. And I'm not medically certified to stick anything foreign up my nose. That's number one. So that's kind of concerning how my agency is requiring us to do our self-assessment testing. And secondly, under the registration, we have to give up our personal information, including our address, our date of birth, and other information that will be shared through a third party on that website. And it shows that we are waiving our HIPAA rights. So I'm very concerned of why the state is pushing forward, and including my agency, is pushing forward with something that actually has not been passed pursuant to a Cal HR final policy. So I kind of want your input and see what the union, and is there any meetings that the union has had for labor relations and health and safety with the state?
So, Corey, what agency do you work for?
The state treasurer's office.
Huh. Okay, Corey. Hopefully you'll send our union an email detailed what you just stated. You know, I wasn't going to talk about this tonight. I was going to wait till next week. We've reached an agreement about COVID, and that testing is a situation that we can still do a meet and confer on. So what we're going to do is this. Hopefully by tomorrow, or first thing Friday morning, we're going to post the agreement with Cal HR. And we're going to post a summary. So you can wait to see the agreement first and the summary first, or you can still send in your email to our union detailing the situation. It appears to me that we may have to do a meet and confer over the testing issue. Now, as far as your privacy, that's another matter. So I want you to send that information to our union. Yeah, actually, you can send it to me at rlb@seiu1000.org. And I also want to leave this with you, if I haven't told other people. You can ask for a religious exemption or have a medical accommodation concerning about not being vaccinated. But then you would have to do another medical exemption or religious exemption for not doing the COVID test. So, medical or religious exemption, but on two different issues. When we put this information up on our website, hopefully you'll be able to see that. I want to thank you for calling in, Corey.
Richard, one follow-up?
Yes.
Can I have one follow-up question real quick?
Yes.
So with that said, I would love to see that summary, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
So one of the questions is it states in the FAQ that if I choose not to do the registration under color, that I could face disciplinary action.
So,
will that be in that summary as well?
Yes.
The guidelines on disciplinary action?
Yes. And so when you read the summary and you read the agreement we reached, this is important, and I push for this really, really hard. No employee will be disciplined for declining to disclose their vaccination status. And so when you read through this agreement, is it the perfect agreement? No, it's not perfect. But we wanted to have the conversation, and we wanted to do all we could to fight for people's right, for their freedom. And so some people agree with this fight, some people did not. We understand that because we want to have a safe workplace. Okay, so our next caller.
Thank you so much, Richard. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no worries, Corey. No worries. Okay, so our next caller is DLC 772 President Mary Dela Cruz.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes.
I wanted to follow up. Thank you for the presentation. It was awesome. It addresses a lot of issues that really needed to be a dialogue. I wanted to tell you, by the way, I'm 772 DLC president, and I wanted to let you know,
yes,
to kind of piggyback, is that in my DLC and some of my work sites, I have bargaining unit 4, a large work site of mine, that they are getting compensated monthly. I believe it's $75 a month for their having the use of internet, PG&E, and so that was what was agreed upon for that work site. I have another very large work site. These are all of my top 5. One work site that they were getting compensated as well. However, management decided, you know what, we're going to stop compensating you. And then I have other work sites that never have been compensated. So I have 3 different scenarios, 3 different work sites, and I guess management is the one that's making that decision. Now, I have heard them say that it's because on one work site, they get paid out of a different bank. And that, I will tell you, is gifts. state funds.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the rationale of why they're continuing to get paid their monthly reimbursement for teleworking at home. I don't know. I think if we're all teleworking, we should all be compensated, regardless of what bank you get paid out of, because you still have that need. Anyway, that's all I wanted to share on that.
Well, thank you for
Thank you
calling.
for all your hard work.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I'm glad that she mentioned that, DLC 772 President Mary Dela Cruz, because she's re-echoing on the major finding about clear and consistent eligibility criteria. And this is why we're having a hard time, because we're trying to establish a standardized, uniform telework policy, one that's newer than the 2010 DGS policy, for all state agencies. And it gets a little tricky because every agency wants to do their own thing, whether it's telework or whether it's for the vaccination, COVID testing. So we're trying to, quote, standardize things. And hopefully we will have a standardized, not to get off subject, a standardized religious letter. Hopefully that's coming in the future. A letter that will be accepted by all state agencies. All right. So let's go to the next caller, Hugh Allen. Go ahead, Hugh.
Hi, good evening. I have a couple questions on your survey there. I think one thing that you should stress to the governor is that, in order to make this a green state, we're taking all these people off the road by teleworking and polluting the environment. And then I have a question about, I guess it was yesterday, a judge in Sacramento issued a verdict for mandatory COVID vaccinations for CDCR employees, if I read that correctly. Do you guys know anything about that?
I do not know about that recent judge ruling. I know about the letter that CDPA sent, was it August 5th? Either August 5th or September 5th, stating that all the healthcare workers would have to be vaccinated by October 14th. And I know that CCPOA got it delayed for their correctional officers. So this is, I don't know. The legal staff hasn't reached out to me to inform me of that yet, Hugh. Maybe I'll find out tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it was in the Sacramento Bee yesterday. Judge Tiger, Tigar, is the one federal judge who ruled on it.
Okay.
So maybe you can look in the paper and read the article.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that phone call, Hugh.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, the next caller, Robert Romoff.
Hi there, Richard. Just wanted to say thank you for your excellent work.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thanks for being a light in a sea of darkness. Much appreciated. You've talked about it a little bit already, and I know you wanted to make a big presentation next week. But I just wanted to let you know that CDPH today sent out a letter mandating the COVID shot. And I think it's by the middle of November. So they're saying we have to have it. So I wanted to know, we kind of talked about this a little bit. If I choose not to get the shot, what are my options? And could you explain the support that we could expect from the union?
Yes. So from the very beginning, we filed the cease and desist and unfair labor practice because the state did not meet with us when they sent out the letter on July 26th for this COVID situation. We said we support people's freedom to choose. Now that we have the agreement, everything has kind of been summarized, excluding the healthcare workers and the CDCR people. You have the right to not be vaccinated. And that right you can be supported by your religious exemption or a medical accommodation, reasonable accommodation. Those are the two areas. I know many of you will say that's not enough. And I said earlier that this agreement that we're going to post is a really good agreement. We fought as hard as we could. But that issue of privacy is not in there. So I didn't get the perfect agreement. We got to find more consistency on this religious exemption, because some agencies will accept it and some agencies will try to deny you. I would say if you use a religious exemption and they denied you based on religious grounds, please file a grievance. And we need to stack these grievances up. Because I know some people have strong feelings about taking the COVID shot, and some people have strong feelings about not taking the COVID shot. I am not a scientist. I am not a doctor. I am not a lawyer. And sometimes I wonder if I'm even the president. I'm doing all I can to satisfy all of you at the same time. And you know that I can't do it. We are fighting. We're going to put this information up on the website. You can look through the agreement that I signed with Kyle HR. You can see the good things you like, and then you can see the bad things you like. And everyone can make their criticisms. But we are fighting for you. We have not given up on you. Everybody in our union will have a voice. All right, thank you for calling in. Next caller, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Very welcome, sir. Kimberly. Good evening, Kim.
Can you hear me?
Oh, loud and clear, Kimberly.
Hi, great. Thank you, President Brown. I really appreciate you taking my call.
You're very
and
welcome.
also appreciate the you sharing the telework results. I'm looking forward also to reading the vaccination equipment with Cal HR.
Oh, sure.
But the reason I'm calling in tonight is because 5 weeks ago, on August 25th, I joined you here on the call to flag that the 80 hours of ATO for COVID or COVID vaccine-related illness that was provided by SB 95 is expiring tomorrow on September 30th. And I had asked at that time if there was an opportunity for the union to engage with other entities to advocate for an extension, especially given the increase in the Delta variant that we've been experiencing, and now with the recommendation for booster vaccines. At that time, you said that it wasn't on your radar that it was expiring, but you thought it was a great idea and that the union needs to have a discussion with the state about extending the expiration date. And so I'm just checking back in to see if that conversation or any other actions have taken place.
You know, it has not, because we were trying to work through the COVID settlement. But I'm glad you have reminded me
I
of.
know there's been a lot.
Right. So I'm glad that you called in to remind me, so that we can send out this email tomorrow. Yes. So we're I'm trying to get buy-in. So we're going to send out the email tomorrow regarding this 80 hours for that date to be extended, because you said the Delta variant.
Well, I think, and even more important than the Delta variant, because it also covered vaccine-related illness, and now that people are being recommended to get a third booster shot, and we hope that people do, or at least I hope that people do, but I know that I was really sick from those vaccines, and so, it was because of that ATO that I didn't have to use sick leave.
glad you called, and we'll get this email sent out tomorrow, and maybe when that email goes out, that needs to be posted on the website to show proof that we actually did like you asked us to do.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. So give me one moment, because I'm writing this down. One moment here. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next caller. Oh, so wait, hold on one second, because someone is sending me a text. Okay, so people are asking, did it really come from College R? Was it really PERB? What was going on? PERB was the mediator in this decision between College R and Local 1000. So we'll put this information up, and I'm sure we'll get more questions about this. All right, so the next caller is Betty Jackson Stewart.
Hi, Richard.
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for asking. So I just wanted to give some clarification regarding the vaccination and the declinations. Last year, when all of this started up,
Okay.
people were informed that everyone needed to wear masks, that we were essential public servants, and that we needed to continue our position as far as visiting the healthcare facilities and completing investigations. And they also stated if you had any issues, medical issues, or someone in your family, blah, 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 bring in the medical information from the doctor, and they would make special accommodations for you. So I don't want anyone to be fooled. That did not go over so well, because the accommodation was they put you on some type of leave. The state of California has like 8 or 10 different leaves that you can be on. And when you do all of what they're asking you to do, I believe that people who do not get vaccinated and who do not have, and they have those declinations for their medical and for their religious beliefs, I believe that those people, or the majority of them, will be sent home on some type of leave. They are not, I mean, if you just think about it, they are not going to allow you to be in an atmosphere where other people can become contaminated. A lot of people thought that they could telework from home. They allowed us to telework from home. However, you still had to perform your duties, which meant you still needed to visit those different healthcare agencies. And that did not stop. And you just had to protect yourself, put on your PPEs, do whatever, wash your hands, social distance, whatever. But I just felt like they didn't care if we lived or died. So I don't want people to get the wrong impression that if I complete this declination and I do this and I dot my I's and cross my T's, I will not I will not need to get this injection. I believe if you do not get the vaccination, I believe that you will not work. You'll be placed on the leave. And that's just being honest, and that's from our experience last year. And there are many people who were placed on the leave. And I just wanted to share that. And thank you for your time.
Oh, you're
great job you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you. So I know people have strong feelings about this COVID, because I don't say the word correctly. All right, for the pandemic. So what I would like to do before we go back to Frank, I want to see, because I want people to read it first, because I know everyone has an opinion when they read something. I want to go back to this telework. because I have this contract in front of me, the contract that was ratified, oh boy, October 13th, 2019. So I'm on page 341. 21.1. All right. Telecommute telework program. Now it excludes Unit 17. Telework is defined as performing work, one, and I see Frank, and I'm reading this at the right time. Telework is defined as performing work one or more days per pay period away from the work site to which the employee is normally assigned. Such locations must be within a pre-approved workspace and during pre-approved work hours inside the teleworkers' residence, telework centers, or other offices of the state, as approved pursuant to the department's telework policy and guidelines. Many of our agencies do not have a telework policy. They quickly adopted an emergency telework policy during the March-April timeframe of 2020. So that was the A part. Now let's get to the B part. Where operational considerations permit, a department, listen to this word, may establish a telework program. They don't have to do it right now, per our contract. Now I want you to hear this clearly. The 2019, I wish I had the 2019, June 19th, 2020 side alert agreement, where it talked about the state and Local 1000 will talk about telework. Talk about it. But by our contract, they don't have to do anything. So when we talk about establishing permanent telework, because it's the right thing to do and the governor is behind this, he wants 75% of the workforce to have this, that contract that was approved says something different. You say, well, what's the big deal? Because by the contract, they could make us honor this contract and say, honor your contract. I want you to remember that statement that I made. They could turn around tomorrow and say, Richard, your union's divided. They don't want you around. We don't want you around. We're not going to do anything for you. They could tell that to anybody else that was the president of this union. Honor the contract. They could. So then you say, well, politics matters. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Some people don't think that we can grieve this telework. We can actually grieve it. It's kind of a legal nuance because it says here, down here in F, any denial of request made under subsection B shall be provided in writing. A copy of the written denial shall also be sent to Local 1000 headquarters. This is very tricky language when you read this whole section right here. They don't have to establish a telework policy, but if they do have one and then they unreasonably deny you, that could be a problem. That's why a lot of agencies don't want to establish a telework policy. All right, enough. But I have the contract in front of me. Frank, oh wait, we have Eric Nelson, and then we'll go to Frank Askin again. Go ahead, Eric Nelson.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just want to make a quick point that people don't bring up.
Sure.
I'm not going to go into my background other than to say I'm involved with public health and COVID.
Okay.
And that is this, whether you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, you can be equally contagious. The vaccination doesn't stop you from being contagious. You can be vaccinated, have no symptoms, or only have a few symptoms and bring it to work. Or you can be unvaccinated and be contagious. What the vaccine does is it keeps you from dying, or it keeps you from getting less symptoms and maybe no symptoms at all. So it's just important to remember the vaccine does not stop people from being contagious if they get it. And even people who are vaccinated are getting the Delta variant and some of the other ones as well. Thank you.
Well, Eric Nelson, you brought up a point that I did not want to acknowledge openly because it opens up a bag of worms. Because he's right. You can be vaccinated and still get the virus and still spread it. But if you're vaccinated, then you should have a great chance to live and not be going to the hospital and flooding our hospitals. So I know a lot of you have gotten mad at me because you said, Richard, we're being discriminated against. Just because I don't want to get vaccinated and they're making me be subject to this testing. Everybody should be tested because everybody could have it. Well, I thought the conversation was going really good tonight. So, okay, back to Frank. Go ahead, Frank.
Yes, good evening again, Mr. President. And again, you were spot on with the contract because one of my members asked our OCIO about our telework policy, and he said the same exact thing that you just said. We do not currently have a uniformed telework policy. We quickly made one up as we were going along when we were forced to telecommute. So yeah, a lot of state agencies don't have that. But I got a quick question on this, on our restructuring plan where we're redistricting like the DLCs and so forth and getting some new reps. I agree with that. But one thing I want to ask of you, and that I beg, is something that's concerning to me is Pedro Leon. He is no longer with DLC 787. He was moved to 781. We over at CYAB have a standing relationship with Pedro, and we would like for Pedro to stay, if possible, in 787. And then also another question that I have is, say Pedro was already working on something for us at the time. After the reorganization, is what Pedro was working on for our organization with our stewards, is it going to continue to be him, or is it going to be handed off to the new URC reps? Thank you.
So thank you for calling back, Frank. The work that he's doing, Pedro is doing for DLC 787, he should be able to finish those cases. That's what I believe was relayed to me. If I'm incorrect, then I apologize. Frank, your DLC president, 787, Ruth Ibarra, also feels the same way about Pedro. And it appears to me, Frank, quite a few people feel quite strongly about Pedro. I'm glad Pedro didn't run for president. It appears Pedro can do no wrong. And we have some staff that people love to death. We're going to try and make everyone happy, but we won't be able to. What we will do is we're going to ensure that this realignment supports each DLC president. And each DLC president will look at this realignment as not as something to stop them from doing their job. This realignment is to ensure that each DLC president can do their job to the best of his or her ability. Now, before someone calls and says, well, Richard, why couldn't we have been told about this a long time ago? Why couldn't we have had more input? That's my fault. And so I apologize for that. Have I made some mistakes since I started on June 30th? Yes. Have I done some good things? Yes. Have I done some things that people don't know about, that people are real quiet about, that I can't acknowledge on video? Oh, you better believe it. So I apologize for Pedro leaving, but we're going to work this out. We're going to stay positive, and we're going to get this done. And we're going to give out high quality job representation, and we're going to make sure that our DLC presidents have everything they need to accomplish their goal of increasing our membership in this union and making sure our calls to the URC or the MRC is responded in 48 hours or less. And then every time the staff goes into that DLC, you have my word on this, that staff is going to contact that DLC president and let them know what they're doing. All right, so let's go to the next caller, Vincent Green. Good evening, Vincent.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Vincent, loud and clear.
So first of all, I want to thank you for taking my call.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Second of all, I'm still waiting to have the conversation with you. So when you find some time in your schedule, just let me know and I will call you. Okay, just let me know a time and I'll give you a call. Second of all, it's good to hear that you recognize that maybe some things could have been done a little differently. That makes me very happy as a steward and also as a member, and I really appreciate that. The one thing that I would push back just a little bit is that we have to understand as membership and as a union that the state of California is still under the emergency telework program. That side letter is still in effect. So when you are looking at what the MOU says, the side letter came after that because it was an emergency situation. So when we're talking about, the telework, we should be referencing the side letter because that's what we're operating under at this point. Does that make sense?
Vincent, it sounds like it makes sense. But if you notice earlier in my conversation, the latest side letter agreement, maybe I'm wrong, but that latest side letter agreement, June 4th, 2021, I could not find telework in there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I went back to the June 9th.
Telework was all about that side letter. And the reason why we know is because the bunk team basically negotiated that with with the state. So telework is all about that. Now, at the same time, and when we're referencing telework and why does the departments haven't come up, you're absolutely right. They have not come up with anything because they haven't been given any clear direction. But if you go to GovOps and you go to General Services, they have clear-cut guidelines that a lot of departments are beginning to form in that realm of what those guidelines are. So we might want to kind of take a look at those, GovOps, and also General Services to see what they're telling the departments to actually try to get store for or try how to basically craft what they need to do in the meantime of waiting for a enterprise-wide telework policy. Because that's what's going on. I know that's what's going on in my department, is that, they're looking and waiting for direction, but at the same time, they're looking at doing some things while they're waiting for that direction. And I think that a lot of that is based on the negotiations that you and the team is going to be doing over the next several weeks. Does that make sense?
Kind of makes sense, because again, when we were discussing this, it's funny because the staff is not saying what you're saying, and neither were the bunk chairs. So when I went to the June 4th, 2021 side letter agreement, I looked for that word telework. Now, I couldn't find it. Maybe I overlooked it, Vincent. So I went back to the June 19th, 2020 side letter agreement. And I hate that I don't have both those agreements in front of me because I don't like to get caught by surprise. And I know I read it in there about the telework and college HR, and that we would talk about it, but that's all that it said. However, I will go back and do my homework again, Vincent. That's a promise.
Yeah, and tell you what, what we can do is you and I can talk about it offline.
Okay.
And Richard, I will make you this promise. If I'm wrong, I'll come back on this call and turn around and say, I was wrong by what I had said, and you were absolutely correct.
You know what, Vincent?
Is that fair?
Oh, that's more than fair. But you know what? Listen, no one,
Okay, right.
listen, no one's going to be perfectly right. No one's going to be perfectly wrong. And even when people have come on and said things that they were wrong about, they don't have to always come back on and acknowledge that they were wrong. They can if they choose. But I find it interesting because someone was asking me about that, and I had just looked this up yesterday. And when I have these Zoom meetings, I'm very good at having stuff in front of me. And for some reason, I have the contract, I have all this other stuff, but those two side letter agreements, oh, I'm so sorry. What's going on? Is it in the 21 side letter? The telework? For the 21? Hold on one second, Vincent.
So I pulled up the signed letter agreement from June 19th, 2020.
June 19th, 2020. It's on what, the second or third page about the telework?
Like I said, it's not a problem. We
Okay,
can talk about
okay,
it
okay,
offline and
okay.
just make sure that we're all on the same page.
That's fine.
And like I said, if it is to where I'm incorrect, I don't have a problem in saying that, because you know what? When we come together and we're trying to be on the same page, it's good to know that, hey, we can talk about things and come into an agreement and not necessarily always be at odds. Does that make sense?
Makes perfectly good sense, because I know this is a lot of information. And so you were there at that time. And so what's going on now may be, quote, a little different. So it makes perfectly good sense. I want to thank you for calling in.
Okay. Well, no problem.
Okay.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the next caller is Heidi Chadwick. Good evening, Heidi.
Hello, Richard.
Hi.
Thanks for taking my call.
You're very welcome.
I just want to let you know that as far as the HEPA are concerned, we love that you're president now, and thank you for the phenomenal work that you've done. To bridge the gap maybe between you and Vincent, I guess the employees have a question as far as the bedside agreement, or as far as the agreement between emergency teleworking. So, and the question is this: how long does an emergency last? We've seen that CDPH moves very, very quickly when they're motivated to execute an edict or a policy or a procedure.
Right.
However, when CDPH is not motivated to execute a policy or procedure, they drag their feet forever. So
Right.
some of the questions that the employees have actually surround how long does an emergency last? And there's a lot of frustration in the fact that, some people are working telework and they're getting paid $75 a month for their internet and for their electricity. And others of us, not only are we not getting paid that, but all of a sudden we're not being reimbursed the mileage that we were being reimbursed before we were told we needed to telework. So we're actually making less money. So I think there's a bridge between your thought process and Vincent's thought process of how long does an emergency actually last, and at what point is it appropriate that CDPH really needed to create those policies and procedures if they wanted to do it.
Well, okay.
And it seems like they're unmotivated to do it.
Well, Heidi Chadwick, I think you know that you're right. See, I wanted to do a very easy. The staff said, "Don't act wild tonight, Richard." I said, "Okay, I'm gonna act right." And he's like, "Yeah, you always say that." I was trying to avoid this. Being cool, smiling, energetic. Everybody has a definition. I'm okay. Everybody has a definition on what's an emergency. I think the emergency started in March of 2020. And I think that this telework should have been done by December of 2020. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. You know, if this telework plan had been done already in December of 2020, or maybe in the spring of 2021, and that federal worker essential premium pay, if that had been dispersed, and if you say, well, there's too many legalities, Richard, the federal government's acting crazy, okay. But there was state surplus money. So if that POP had ended in January, February, and out of that state surplus, those billions of dollars, 76 billion, I think 40 was on the hook, the rest was free. If you would have gave out some of that money to all these state employees across the 12 public sector unions in an emergency to help you, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'm gonna tell you that. Money talks. Everyone has this opinion about emergency. And I know since I've been in office, I haven't moved fast enough for people. And then I move too fast on some things. We're going to continue to stay positive and move forward. Vincent is right. It is going to take several weeks. I don't like to say that openly. But he's right. To get the state of California to adopt a standardized, uniform telework policy that every agency will utilize and not discriminate about who gets it and who doesn't, it's going to be a situation along with the reimbursement for working from home. It's going to be a struggle, but we'll get through this struggle. Thank you for your call. Next caller, DLC 789, President Eileen Barton. Good evening.
Hi, Richard. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes.
I just want to talk about telework. I know that EDD has a telework policy, and we at EDD, where I work at, we have been teleworking for probably 4 years. They had EDD statewide had their EDD policy, and when they gave it to the different departments, it was broken down that this department shall give the policies and procedures for that. When I started teleworking with EDD, they didn't have that portion. So I raised my hand and I said, I will do that portion. So part of my training and development was to write the portion, the policies and procedures for us, the worker in that specific department, what our job duties were and how we would report everything. So I just want to let you know that he has one, and we've been doing it for 4 years, and it's good. And then when the state had the emergency one, it really didn't change anything other than now management was more managing people. But yeah, I would like to get paid because we're here now. I'm paying for all the all the air conditioning and the heat now. So that would help, and the internet and everything too. But I also want to go back on the COVID stuff. Last year too, when we were teleworking, and if somebody went on vacation, went out of the country on their vacation, and then when they got back, they still had to take that 2-week leave before they came back to work.
Right.
Is that still in process as well? How is that going to work too? So, also the permanent intermittents who come in and they telework, and some of them are permanent, intermittent, limited term. Now, they don't have insurance to go get the COVID. Oh, well, they didn't, but now they may have to, right? But they don't have insurance for if they get sick with COVID. So, we need to do something about our limited term people.
I'm listening to you.
Because, now they're calling me now, too. Go ahead.
No, I'm listening. I'm listening to you.
Okay, but and also thank you for the change, the redirection of the organizers and everything. Thank you for that. We did have 6 organizers. 3 of them were the member organizers, and nobody relayed any information back to us as a DLC, and the entire DLC, so we're working on that now. I'm also requesting that when the bunk chairs go out and work on different issues, if the issues have people within our DLC that they've been working on, let us know. That would be nice to know. That's all I want to say. I found out because I had a meeting with the organizers as soon as I got my position. And they told me about it, and we've been working it until they went to training. So at least I got a lot of the information I need to move my DLC forward. So thank you for everything you've done. Thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you for calling in. You know, DLC 789 President Eileen Barton raised some critical issues. I know this restructure has caused some people a great deal of stress, and we were not trying to do that. What we're simply trying to do is make sure that we give out high quality job representation and that we answer our calls promptly within 48 hours. Because that's going to help us drive up our membership goals, or drive up our membership numbers. So we have to do our primary job, in my mind, our only job representation, along with the second part of that, contract negotiations. But I know there's some other issues that come behind those major two. I understand that. All right, and then also about the permanent intermittent limited term, that is an issue as well that we're going to have to address in the next contract. And then finally, that important part. I realize that each DLC president, he or she is protective, and that is an easygoing word, over their DLC. Message received. So I'm asking the bunk chairs, when you go inside these DLCs, can you please let those presidents know? Thank you. All right, so our next caller is DLC 767 President Richard Wake. Good evening, Richard.
Hi, thanks for allowing me to speak. So I kind of tuned in a little bit late tonight because I was doing some other things here at home, but one of the things, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that was brought up was what constitutes an emergency for COVID. And you're also, teleworking and stuff was brought up, and I pay attention to stuff closely at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing where I work, and we have a pretty small department. We have roughly about 200 employees, and first of all, I would agree that that teleworking should be made permanent for a lot of people, but part of the problem I see here is two issues. Is one, just on what I'll call like a microcosm of state service where I work, it is really, truly not possible for everyone to telework, just because of the nature of the work we do. For example, our legal division, unfortunately some educators do some bad things, okay? And, this involves like fingerprint clearances and police reports and, other confidential information. Plus, we can't take all of our mail home and open up the mail because there's checks and other confidential information that's in the packages that we get from the educators and from the field. So, unfortunately, at the commission, there's probably going to be at least 25 to 30% of the staff that's going to have to come in 40 hours a week. That's just the way it is. So, I guess my point is I don't think there's a really one-size-fits-all for teleworking. I mean, like DMV, there's going to be workers that are going to have to come into work to DMV. And maybe some of that stuff has been reduced because of, technology and stuff like that. I don't know all the answers. A couple of my sites are DMV sites, and now that I have a new steward where I work, I can start paying a little bit more attention to what's going on down in some of my sites. I want to get to those places because, the other sites, people are mostly working from home. So I am starting to pay attention to what's going on at the two DMV branches that I have. And I'm going to be asking a lot of questions when I get there. But, I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all thing. And I do agree with what the other DLC president, Eileen, said. She kind of touched on, stipends for, internet and electricity and, maybe, mileage and stuff. I agree with that too. But as far as what constitutes an emergency, quite frankly, we would have been done with this pandemic a long time ago if the pandemic had not been politicized. Okay? The choices are, no one is mandating vaccinations. People have a choice. If you don't want to get vaccinated, then you have to get tested. Okay? And I would agree that, hey, that needs to be worked out on who's paying for the testing, where is it going to be done, all that. But, these things shouldn't be politicized. Okay? And as far as getting, these things are going to be worked out over time, but I guess the other point I would like to make here very quickly is when it comes to things like stipends and, getting, probably not for teleworking, but for other things that are going to benefit the employees financially. Election time is next year. And, I know that you don't pretty much agree that we shouldn't be involved in politics, okay, too much. But the bottom line is, for my opinion, being involved in politics for well over 30 years, is that campaigning against Governor Newsom isn't going to work for this union, okay? And I'm not saying you're going to do that personally, okay? Not going down that road.
Right.
I'm just saying we have strength in numbers, and people have a choice. If you campaign against Governor Newsom in large numbers from this union,
right,
is Governor Newsom going to be inclined to help us? No, because he's going to see the majority of people working against him, okay? You can also stay out of it. Silence is golden sometimes, okay? And we're also going to have to elect politicians, state senators, and state assembly members, where the majority of state workers are, so we can leverage those votes in the assembly, and those legislators can leverage the governor to get decent contracts and benefits. That's the bottom line. I mean, outside of who's negotiating,
right,
whether it's the bunk chairs,
right,
or, whether private, a company is involved, or, whatever. That's the reality. And probably a lot of this stuff isn't gonna, maybe, hey, with a stroke of luck, maybe we can get some of these, benefits on a sidebar negotiation, but some of this stuff isn't gonna happen until after the election, probably. It's probably not gonna happen.
So,
and that's just the reality. So I would encourage everybody, in my final words here, to please, hey, if you don't like Governor Newsom, fine, okay, just don't campaign against him. You can vote for whoever you want in the voting booth.
Right.
Just zip it.
So hold on,
we will get what we want.
Hold on, Richard. Don't leave, Richard. Stay on for a second, Richard. So we're gonna make Richard the last caller. I'm glad that DLC President 767 Richard Wake has come on. I really am. Because his conversation is it's a really good conversation. And no matter what he said about me on Facebook, no matter our disagreements, he raises some very important issues. And I'm going to take a minute with Richard. And I'm going to lay some things out for you. We had that rally on August 27th, 2021, west side of the Capitol. And we actually was on camera. We walked petitions in to try to save jobs for our people represented in our contract, represented by our Local 1000. Those jobs up there at CCC. And there were some people who spoke who were against Governor Gavin Newsom. Now, when we have our mission statement talking about the power for our members and all Californians, see, this is where it gets tricky. Because when you say all Californians, not all Californians are going to agree with you up and down on every issue. In fact, I got the contract. So here, I'll read it. Here it is, SEIU Local 1000 purpose statement on the back of our contract. Local 1000 is a strong member-led, I should say member-ran, but member-led union. The purpose of Local 1000 is to have the power necessary to give our members and all Californians. Let me stop right there. It's funny because it says all Californians, but not all Californians are dues-paying members of our union. So when I ran my campaign talking about all represented employees, by the contract as a job steward, I'm doing my job. But here in this purpose statement, they're saying all Californians. Well, all Californians are not going to agree with us. So there were some people at the campaign, I think one of the speakers had a Larry Elder shirt on. Well, I don't tell people what to wear when they get up in the mornings. People are grown people. I don't tell people what to say. In fact, when he got done with his speech, and he's a state employee, a retired warden of 37 years, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to prison closures. He doesn't care for this current governor. And so there's a percentage of Californians who do not care for our current governor. But we don't, try to, quote, silence their voices. This is America. Everyone has the ability to speak. So when he made that statement, I got up behind him and said, hey, wait a minute. Local 1000 has taken an official position, June 2nd, 2021, emergency board meeting vote. The board voted to give $1 million to SIU State Council to help this current governor, the governor, I won't say current, he is the governor, Gavin Newsom, maintain this position. And also to oppose any recall effort against him. When I swore in on, not when I swore in, the day I took office on June 30th, I never said anything about trying to recall him. But I believe in the power of voting.
I agree.
Okay, right. So I agree with the power of voting. Now, when you came on, I think last week or the week before, Richard, you said about respect the vote. And the Californians did not respect when we voted for Gavin Newsom in 2018, which ironically, because people think I'm a conservative, but I'm a registered Democrat. If you can look on my website, all my voting's up. Now, I have to still stick up my recent votes about this recall election and about the CalPERS election, but I'm consistent. I voted for Gavin in 2018. All right? So we respect voting. He won in 2018. People weren't still satisfied. And some people have very personal feelings against Gavin. And I know about people having personal feelings about a person. Trust me, I know real well. You know too, Richard. So they wanted to get him out. They did the recall. They failed. And you said, respect the vote the first time. And so what I'm asking Richard Wake, the LC president, the voters of Local 1000 voted for me. And even though all the different people ran and people were splitting votes and this and that, I did not tell. In fact, I'm going to be honest with you, Richard. I told MTC when Tony left them, I said, do not break up your group. Stay unified. I had no idea that Yvonne and Miguel would have a falling out. That's not how real friends work. So whatever happened, even though I only took 33%, you can look at those numbers and bend them any kind of way that you want and make an analysis of it. But the fact is, I won the election fair and square over all 51 DLCs, not one particular DLC, not one particular job classification. So I know you've been calling me out over a period of time. Richard, I'm not afraid to go at anybody, anytime. So when I couldn't get to you right away, and then you thought I was walking away, well, hold on, you thought I was walking away from you, that wasn't true. But now I'm gonna go to the last part, and then I'll let you respond, and then we'll end the call. And we're gonna end on a good note, Richard. Listen to this. You talk about being involved in politics, and how we need to make sure that we elect strong senators and strong assembly men and women to ensure that when they approve our contract, it's a quality contract. Well, I'm gonna go back in time when that man we call Schwarzenegger, and I won't watch a movie that he appears in ever again. He did that furlough.
That's good.
Right, hold on. No, just hear me out though. He did that furlough.
No, that's cool.
Right. So he did the furlough, Richard. I'm not with him, and I'll never be with him. Don't ever come for my money and think we're gonna be cool. Okay? We will never be friends ever again, if we were ever friends to begin with. But the only way he pulled that off was the Democrat-controlled legislature that Local 1000 and all these other public sector unions spend all their time and energy. They approved it. So it didn't matter if it was the donkey or the elephant. They turned their back on us. Because we don't have a strike fund. And when we call for a strike, we don't go on strike. And that's wrong. In fact, when Jerry Brown came around for his second go-around, 2010, November, we did that contract agreement before he took office on November 8th, 2010. And he asked for 1 day PLP, for us to voluntarily give up 1 day, because he said he was for us. And we said, okay. And then under that signed contract, in May of 2012, he asked for another day. And we took a vote. Ironically, we took a vote by the membership, but they never told us how many people voted. And they counted at the voting ballot. We counted our own ballots. And we agreed to give up another day while under a signed contract with that Democrat. So we lost 3 days, 2 days starting in February of 2009 and went to a third day in July 2009. And then with Jerry Brown, we lost 2 days. And then we put our time and energy behind Mr. Gavin Newsom. I voted for him too. And then he turns around and wanted 2 days from us for 2 straight fiscal periods. And he's a Democrat, and he's supposed to be labor friendly. I can't tell. I can't tell. Praise God. And so we lost 2 days with this current governor, and we lost 2 days with Jerry. When I do my numbers, that's 4 days versus 3 days with Schwarzenegger. So, now, if you tell me, Richard Wake, that when we support these politicians, they're going to put in writing that they will never furlough us and never ask us to give up our money while under a signed contract. In fact, I remember the 13 to 16 contract. We had furlough and PLP protection in that contract. I got a good memory. And so when people say that I'm trying to destroy the union, I'm part of the right to work, that is an absolute lie. I put that on Genevieve Maud Brown's grave, on her ashes. That's a lie. The only freedom foundation I'm looking for, if I was a slave coming out of slavery, trying to escape, running towards Canada. And when I did interviews, because people were offering to give me interviews, if some of these people had cousins, half-brothers, sisters related to the Freedom Foundation, I did not know. And so my staff, the assistants, have informed me, you will vet those people when you do those interviews. But I've always been outspoken. I've always said Local 1000 will last forever. I am not working with the Freedom Foundation or any anti-labor movement. In fact, I'm the one that started talking about the labor movement and the labor leader. And when I say things, everyone follows behind me because I am the leader. I want to be crystal clear. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Richard. Go ahead. Go ahead, Richard.
No. I didn't mean to cut you off. But,
Go ahead.
You know, someone can correct me if I'm wrong from the union, whether it's you or anybody else that may be listening. But you know, I've been with the state. You know, I'll be in my 33rd year here soon, and you know, the way I recall the furloughs, way that was done with the third day.
Yes.
Schwarzenegger did that arbitrarily. And eventually the California State Supreme Court ruled against Governor Schwarzenegger, saying that, well, you know, he needed to get consent of the legislature to do that. So you know, the furloughs were done, and that was it. But the California State Supreme Court said it couldn't be done that way. Now with Governor Brown, yeah, we did get 1 furlough day with Governor Brown, but that was part of the contract. And I'm not saying these deals were the best, not arguing that. I'm just saying that those contracts were signed and approved and voted on by the members, and they were ratified by the legislature. Now, even though, and I would agree, that the deal we got with Gavin Newsom could have been better, but as compared to the other agreements, we did have a few things thrown in that lessened the blow of that, okay? Some people didn't get pay cuts at all because they got merit increases, okay? And there were automatic triggers in that agreement that when the budget improved, that automatically allowed for the contract for that side agreement to be negotiated. And as I understand it, Governor Newsom, we didn't have to ask Governor Newsom that. He said, okay, let's just do this. So, you know, and I'm not saying these agreements are perfect. I'm just noting the difference that, you know, nobody can give us furloughs ever again unless it's approved by the state legislature, period. And, you know, and as far as all I was saying about legislators, hey, You know, there's bad elected officials from both sides of the fence, and let me tell you, I work against Democrats here in Sacramento, especially when it comes to the homeless issue. So I agree with you. Just because I vote Democrat doesn't mean, one, I approve of everything that Gavin Newsom does, and two, that I vote Democrat all the time. I never vote Republican, that's for sure. Okay? But what I'm saying is that the furloughs and PLP days cannot be approved unless the legislature gives the majority consent on a vote. Okay? So,
Richard,
you know, I would agree with you. These things weren't perfect, but that's where we're at is from Schwarzenegger as opposed to what happened with Jerry Brown and Gavin Newsom.
Richard, hold on.
I hear you. Though.
Hold on. Don't leave, Richard. Hold on, because Richard's our last caller. Richard, this is what I've been talking to people about. When you and other people get on me about my words, okay.
Well,
but hear me out. But hear me out. No. Hold on, Richard, because this is gonna be a positive call. But I want you to hear me. No, hold on. Right. No. But Richard, I want people to hear you and I talk. Furlough is a day that the governor wants to take from us, and the legislature approves it, and it shuts the state down for one particular day for a certain week. Right? But we cannot interchange these words, furlough and PLP. PLP simply means right. So, right. But PLP means you voluntarily, under a signed contract, did not enforce your contract, and you let someone talk you into giving up your money, and then they can decide what day that you use that PLP management. And so when you say these things, and when they did the furlough, the reason why he got away with it because the legislature approved it. Now, if you want to take it a step further, I wasn't going to say this. All you guys do is look up on SAC-B. The former president had the lawsuits. She had them. She could have saved us, but she let them lawsuits go. So if you want to stick to your argument, then I'll bring up that. But if you want to say, well, hey, the Democrat-controlled legislature allowed those furloughs to go through, then okay. But I want you to understand this. If you say these Democrats have our back, well then I'm going to ask you a simple question. Because people from the street life, they know this very well. So Gavin said in the election year 2020, when Joseph Biden needed every vote to overcome a monumental increase in votes by former President Donald Trump, do you think that this governor of California would have really furloughed us? Because that's something the Republicans do. He would not have furloughed us, and the state legislature would have not authorized him to furlough us. We could have enforced our contract, saved our money. Because remember, earlier in the conversation about this telework, the state can just turn around and walk away from us. They have us in a contract signed. They don't have to do anything. And I know they're watching. I know they're watching. So when you say we must protect Governor Gavin Newsom at all costs, when you say that after he took 2 days from us and he won an additional 2 days, and it wasn't because of the surplus that slowed him down, it was that recall. He said, oh no, I got to stop this. Because remember, that state surplus, forget the federal surplus, that state surplus is money he controls. He could have given us some type of money, some type of hazard pay, some type of COVID pay, some type of hero pay, some type of essential worker premium pay. But he did not do that, and it has nothing to do with me and my mouth. Oh no. He had that money in January.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Right. Okay, but if Joe Biden hadn't got elected, we would have not had the second COVID package, and California and the other states wouldn't have gotten all that money. Donald Trump would have never approved that.
No.
He would have never supported that.
No, hold on.
So,
well, Richard.
Budget.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Don't shut up. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
So probably, I mean, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I'm not that privileged, but,
right.
The state was banking on Joe Biden winning the election so they could get that COVID relief package done. So we're in a budget surplus now because of that. Now things are getting better in the economy, not as quickly because of the Delta variant and stuff like that, but things are getting better, slowly but surely. and we are, more revenues coming in, more than anticipated, but we're still in that surplus because honestly, Joe Biden won the election. Okay?
Richard?
He's the one that delivered the COVID-19 back.
Richard,
Okay?
I'll have to
And
respectfully.
I'm not saying all Democrats are perfect.
But Richard, I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree because he took office in January when he won on
that's cool.
right. But when he won in November of 2020, he didn't have time to do that type of influence on the markets. So that when that state surplus money came in 2021, he had nothing to do with that. And here's the second thing: if we're going to increase the dues paying membership of Local 1000, we must love our Republican and non-Democrat sisters and brothers. And no matter how we feel about Donald Trump or anyone else, if we're going to unify this family, then we have to reach out to these other people. Sure.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So let me just clarify for myself.
Okay.
I did not vote for Governor Newsom in the June 2018 primary. I voted for former Treasurer John Chung. I voted for Gavin Newsom in 2018 because this union endorsed him. Okay. But let me just say this: when I'm talking about re-electing Governor Newsom, if he's the Democratic nominee again in November 2022,
Okay.
I'm going to vote for him. I may vote for another progressive candidate that's further to the left, like Bernie Sanders, if there's another candidate. And if that person wins, I will vote for that person. But again, I'm not completely thrilled with Gavin Newsom. Not necessarily, but I will vote for him because he's definitely more pro-labor than any Republican out there. That's evidenced by what Larry Elder, and John Cox, and Kevin Faulconer. Look, Kevin Faulconer in San Diego, he didn't even get 7% of the vote in his own county.
Right.
And he's the mayor of San Diego. 2 congressional districts that went red in the 2020 election lived for Gavin Newsom by like 5 or 6 percentage points. Gavin Newsom is in a far stronger place now than he was before the recall. That's a fact.
Now,
So,
you know what, Richard?
Blue state,
Right.
Gavin Newsom, the nominee again. But I might not necessarily vote for him in the primary if another highly or competent Democrat runs. Okay?
So here's
I don't think. I mean, I didn't vote for him the first time.
So
in the primary.
So here, listen to this. Listen to this, Richard. Right, and I hear you loud and clear. And so we're going to end this on a good note. We'll have to catch Vincent and Mary Dela Cruz next week because they spoke already once tonight. So here's how we're going to end this on a good note. Richard, we're going to work together. I'm gonna stay the president somehow through the grace of God, through Jesus Christ. I'm gonna stay the president. Book that. And we're gonna work together, you and I, because I know Stephen O'Leary is trying to hold me back from going after Tim Draper because he wants to do it in a very organized and sophisticated manner. DLC 723 President Stephen O'Leary, who's in the chair of the the COPE committee. Okay. But Richard, I'm asking to reach out to you for us to put our differences aside. It must be the spirit tonight, because I'm rolling tonight. I'm asking you, Richard, to work with me, so we won't be bickering on Facebook anymore, on how we're going to get at Tim Draper. Is that fair enough, Richard?
Honestly, I don't know much about what you're talking about there. I'll have to do the research and find out. But
okay.
I'm always willing to work with people. But,
okay.
But I agree with you on like I said, on the getting stipends for working at home and
okay.
The pay, all the extra pay and stuff like that. I'm all for that. So where I'm in agreement, I'll say it. Okay, but I'll just leave it at that, and let's just see what happens in the future.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to making my POC work.
All right.
I'm going to be out there in the field, and I'm making things happen at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, and you don't, like I said, you may not agree with a lot of the things I say, and that's fine.
Right.
Just like I don't agree with a lot of things you say, but here's one thing that you can bank on.
Okay.
I'm doing my job as a DLC president. I'm busting my ass in my DLC.
Okay.
Okay? I'm working on the JLMC. I bring food to my members once a month. I've helped
several people in my own building. I stay in touch with all my stewards. I recruited a new steward. Since I've been a steward, I've recruited over 15 new members. Some of those people have left for other jobs or retired, but that's my record, okay? I'm doing my job as a DLC president. People don't have to like me, and that's fine. I'm not doing this to win brownie points or become popular. I'm doing it because I come from a union family. My great-grandfather was the steward of the pottery unions in East Liverpool, Ohio. His name was John Wood. Okay? So, that's where I am. I'm not going to guarantee anything else except when I agree with you, I'll be happy to agree with you. Okay? And, I don't want to, like you, I'm truth to power, okay? We may see things differently, and, you may say things that I don't like, and I may say things that you don't like, and, that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. And if we agree on things, I'm happy to advocate for those things. And there are some things that we do agree on, and that's cool. So I'll let it go at that. And thank you for letting me overshoot my time. I think we had a great discussion tonight.
I think we did too.
I'm more than happy to conduct myself in a professional and civil manner whenever I'm able. Whenever that's I'm cool with that. So that's good. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm very grateful for that too. Thank you.
You're very welcome, DLC 767 President Richard Wake. All right, so we're going to wrap things up. I know people are probably shocked that I could have a conversation with one of the board of directors, and we must acknowledge DLC 76 President Richard Wake for coming on tonight, along with DLC 789 President Eileen Barton and DLC 772 President Mary Dela Cruz. Yes, and all the other callers who called in tonight. We must acknowledge people's courage to call in and speak. We try to get people to talk in 2 minutes or less, but I realize that people don't want to do that. So I don't want to shut anyone down. It's been a wonderful call tonight. We'll put up the telework analysis, hopefully by tomorrow. Okay. And we'll send out a newsletter about it, and everyone will have an opinion. We'll keep fighting to get this done as soon as possible, but as Vincent Green said, it's probably going to take a few weeks. It's been nice. Stay tuned. Thank you. Local 1000 listens to you. I'm Richard Lewis Brown, September 29th, 2021. Bye-bye.